said this on several platforms. I have worked with him. When you go and sit before him, especially I was in the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the questions he will ask you in your ministry, as though he sits in the ministry with you. Very brilliant, very active. But of course, Tabi and Co were able to package another to the extent that as if he was the best person to happen to Ghana. They are where we are today. We knew people who attended school, people who have worked with him, they know him. They know his capabilities, what he can do and what he cannot do. He seems not to understand anything. What is going on, the economy, everything. He doesn't understand anything. And he keeps the minister responsible for finance in office because protecting the interests of the president and the family. Because no serious president will keep this man in office for this time, given the situation we find ourselves in now. The economy is in tatters. As I speak to you now, if you're a businessman, you understand. You need more than 8.12 Ghana cedis before you get $1. The inflation is where the sky is around 27%. Everything has gone haywire. But the man is, you see, one of the things to do to probably manage the confidence of your foreign partners in the economy is probably to change the face of the one leading the economy, so that they will think that, oh, because Ken Ofori Atta was not doing things right, now Senna has come, so let's give Senna the benefit of the doubt. Probably we could have made some headway. Apart from borrowing, tell me one thing that this guy knows how to do. Borrowing. He doesn't respect in addition. He doesn't respect anybody. He thinks and feels that he's untouchable. Nobody can sack him. So even if you call him in parliament, he won't come. What can you do? You need to test before you can remove him. If we call for censorship right now, we won't get it. If you're doing something, and me, forgive me, you may disagree with what I'm going to say. If you think that it's an illegality, let's go to court. You get 7-0. Me, I won't go. I won't waste my time. Forgive me. I won't waste my time. So the state we find ourselves in now, for me, and again, you may disagree, the difference between 83 and at this moment is that now it's raining. So the food may be there, but it can't buy. If we had experienced drought this year, it would have been dangerous and serious. I share boundary with one farmer. He's a commercial farmer. He sits on a land, one of my farms, which is about 300 acres. I share boundary with him, and his own is about 150 acres. And last 3 days, he called me and said he has finished planting. And I asked, hey, how many were you able to? He says he was able to cultivate only 60 acres. I asked why. He says he cannot get money to buy fertilizers and co. So he has cultivated half of the land, and he has left half of the land. Because you have to buy a fertilizer, a bag, 50 kilograms, more than 450 Ghana cedis per one. How much will you sell the produce? And almost everything is after, because you see, when you're applying, when plowing, harrowing, clearing, planting, it's all fuel. What 1,000 Ghana cedis could do last year planting season, now you need 3,000 Ghana cedis to be able to do that. The machines you are buying, importing, the planters, the harrows, now the exchange rate is 8.12. So this is where we find out. And you see, all these things, Adongo and the rest and all of us, we started speaking about it, and everybody was calling us, doomsayers. You remember? And we are here. Now, what is coming ahead of us is more serious than where we are at the moment. Let's prepare for it. And it is just because they don't know what they are doing. And left to them alone, we should have even been voting tomorrow so that they will hand over, because they don't know what they are doing. They don't know, and they don't understand.
Wait, the people who came up with the e-levy and among others.
Hold on. Instead of the finance minister to be explaining to us why a dollar is going for 8.12, he's on the television explaining to us why you have to build a cathedral. He called this a finance minister. You see, he hardly appears on the television program once in a blue moon. And when he appears, instead of him to be speaking to the economy, what he superintends, he has now turned into whether reverend minister or something, and telling us why the need for us to build something to glorify God. He's always wearing white. He knows what he's doing. Instead of him to send the national health insurance money to them so that the health facilities can run, so that if you are sick, your grandmother, your father is sick, they can also go to the nearest health facilities, he will not send it. But when he is sick, he will travel to the most expensive hospitals in the whole world. You remember when he had COVID? This is why we find ourselves now. This is where we find ourselves now. This is without prejudice. It is without exaggeration. I am saying it as it is. Go to the constituencies and find out what is happening. Go and find out what is happening. Nothing is going on. Nothing is going on. We are here because they were able to package. Look, I should not be speaking as though I don't know what is going on in the whole world. But we are not the only country in the world, though. Hey, Cote d'Ivoire is part of the world. Even Togo, Burkina Faso. We said, but remember when Nana was in opposition, his best and favorite example was Cote d'Ivoire. Now go back and find out what is the inflation in Cote d'Ivoire. Go back and find out. And when we are in a critical situation, when we cannot pay school feeding, we cannot pay national health insurance, we cannot pay a lot of critical services, we are thinking about investing in a cathedral. So when you criticize this, you are a Satan. You don't trust God. You don't believe in God. This is blackmailing. You know, this is where we find ourselves. So we find ourselves. So it's not funny. It is not. I am encouraged to plant more, and I'll share my strategy. I'm encouraged to plant more because I know there will be food shortage ahead of us. That's the only reason why I am encouraged to plant more. Other than that, because I am struggling. I am struggling to breathe. I buy more than, I buy more than 10,000 worth of fuel every day. If I have 5 tractors on the farm, I have more than 10,000 Ghana cedis worth of, if I have 5 tractors and then 1 dozer, I buy more than 10,000. Well, a day.
A day?
A day, not 2 days, a day. 5 tractors and 1 dozer.
10,000 Ghana cedis worth of fuel.
10,000 Ghana cedis. Ask anybody who knows the sector.
That's only for tilling the land?
Yes. It's for clearing and harrowing.
Oh.
That's how serious it is. A day. So after that, how are you going to sell the produce? And you know one interesting thing? Now, all of a sudden, the very things that Ghanaians should do is being shifted to, I don't want to mention specific foreigners, but we are giving it out to foreigners. We've given our galamsey to foreigners. Our fuel sector or the oil sector has also been dominated by foreigners and all that. Now the food we grow in this country, which should be a national security issue, is going to be dominated by foreigners because we don't have the money to plant. And because the most reliable places that we can plant, that is the irrigation land, this government, after irrigation, is selling and leasing the land to foreigners. This is what is happening, and you're not talking. And we are always interested in the surface, the cathedral. At the end of the day, you can't buy food to eat. And that's where the crime rate will start going up. Because that man who has muscles and has no money in his pocket will also want to survive. So he will come after you. That is how serious the whole issue is. So we must all begin to to show interest, show concern. You know, health facilities are not working. COVID expenditure is still standing in the books of, health facilities. Go to Kolebu. The last time we went to Kolebu, they told us they have 5 million Ghana cedis standing in their books coverage. Meanwhile, we have spent more than 23 billion. You know 23 billion? You go to every teaching hospital, in their books, you see 5 million, 10 million. Even the frontline health workers, they have not been paid. They have not been paid. You call the minister to come and explain, and he won't come. But he'll go and sit on radio and TV explaining why we should build cathedrals. You know, we have nowhere to go. If I leave this country and I go to US or UK, I can't even stay there for more than 2 weeks. I'll come back to Ghana. We have nowhere to go. This is our country. So we must speak, criticize, and put pressure on them to do the right. Unfortunately, no matter what you do, this old man will not listen. He will not listen. That is one of the challenges in appointing your family members in the government, irrespective of how competent they are. Because you may lack that political will to fire. So are you telling me that in the whole NPP, I'm not saying you should bring that position to NDC. In the whole NPP, it's only Ken Ofori Atta who can manage the economy. You know, because he's safeguarding and protecting the properties of the president. He will be there, even if he himself is sick. Even if he himself is not well, in any senior jurisdiction, he would have even resigned by now. He would have resigned because, look, I am not in any way, I can be sick at any time. Everybody can be sick. We are all human beings. We can be sick. And I am against anybody who will use your sickness to probably insult you or against you. Sickness is inevitable. That's not what I'm saying. But of course, you need strength to be able to hold a particular office, an office such as the Ministry of Finance. And when you see the man, now it is even getting better. But the only interest and the only motivation for him to be in office is because he has a parochial interest. Simple. But when you invite him to Parliament, he won't come. He'll tell you he can go to hell.
Yes. Perhaps because you people didn't serve a deterrent enough.
What deterrent do you want us to send? When the Speaker himself has served notice that, look, if you don't come, we won't even approve the next loan for you. And yet, he called the bluff of the Speaker. He didn't come. Will you go and draw a machete on him? What will you do? The worst we can do is to censorship. We need 2 tests. To think that when we want to censor him, the MPP people will vote in our direction to censor him. So at the end of the day, you start this process, it is even demoralizing. You do this. It is all because they were able to package the NADO well, better than His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. We denigrated him. He's incompetent. He can manage the economy very well, shifting the focus of the economy from what do you call it? Something to production.
From taxation to production.
From taxation to production.
Honorable, I know you have a lot to say on the economy. That's why I have been inviting you. So please honor my invitation when you come here. We'll do 2 hours. We start from Greek through to economy, through to health, because all those are areas where you have had some focus on.
Yes. Do you remember the last time I had a discussion with you on Galamsey? Do you remember?
Yes.
When Abu Jinapo became the minister, do you remember?
Yes.
So go back. You see, this is the problem I have with you, some of you journalists. When we speak, sometimes you give it some time. When it's happening, you go back and play. Now, if you go to every mining community, Galamsey is more pronounced than it used to be. I told you, didn't I?
Well, Honorable, you've called to also comment on this matter of what the national chairman of the MPP has been saying.
Okay, on this LGBT issue.
Yes.
I am more biased and more skewed because my constituents have warned me. I'm representing them. They say no to any such act. And you see, if you hear the chairman of the ruling party speaking this way, you don't need to be told that he is speaking the mind of the president. We are not children. You don't need to be told. He's speaking the mind of the president. The president will not necessarily come out and speak. But they are testing the waters. That is how the president thinks. Look, there are a lot of them who are against this act in parliament here, and I know them. When you meet them one-on-one, they will tell you. But they can't speak. They cannot, and they dare not. So for me, I hear him say he doesn't want to be monitoring what happens in people's bedrooms. When people are gambling in their bedrooms and you see they can arrest them, they are 2 adults. They can decide to do whatever they want. It's against the law. If you take your own life, is it not your own life? It's against the law. It's not against the law. The laws are a set of rules that we have decided to govern ourselves with. So if we decide that these are the laws we are approving, it becomes our laws. Your health sector is already weak. You want to go and promulgate this thing. Your health sector, because don't forget that it brings a lot of health issues. Talk to people who know more about this thing. National health insurance is even struggling to survive. And you national chairman, Papa Panyimu, look at the way he's speaking. Then they will find a way of communicating. Oh, as for me, I am against it, but then you bring back, they will say, but we don't want to go to people's bedroom and monitor. What? If you are against it, you are against it. There's no but. So he's speaking the mind of the president. I'm telling you, and not only the president, a lot of people in their party.
But there's a former First Deputy Speaker of Parliament who can have his personal opinion, can't he?
You see, we all know in governance, if this man, the guy who went for presidential primaries and had one vote, was it? If he's called the one after the medical doctor,
Atta Kennedy.
If Atta Kennedy is speaking this way, I cannot tell you that he's speaking the mind of the president. If Atta Kennedy speaking this way, if Nahota Makulu is speaking this way, I cannot say he's speaking the mind of the president. I know what I'm talking about. This is the national chairman of the party, for Christ's sake, who sits in cabinet. So you see, if you are around a leader, okay, everybody is natural, and you are loyal, and you respect the leader. Your communication is dependent on the kind of conversation that goes around him. Take it from me. If you are very close to anybody, look, I'll share this with you, a very top secret. There was just this chieftaincy issue in one of I won't tell you the traditional areas, when we were in government. And some top high-ranking members of the NDC were interested in who should become the paramount chief of that area. And so we decided to go and tell Mr. President and give him the background. You know what he told us? That this is a chieftaincy issue. Allow the kingmaker to select. After that, we'll work with whoever becomes. So from there, no matter how interest you have in it, the position of Mr. President will guide you. Do you get what I'm saying? Hello? Sema, do you get what I'm saying?
So you are suggesting that his position currently is shaped by what is heard from the president?
Exactly. His position is shaped by the conversation that goes on in the Flagstaff House. His position is shaped by the conversation that goes on in Flagstaff House. It's simple. You don't need to be, you don't need to be a naysayer or whatever, soothsayer or whatever before you do this. It's simple. And you monitor the system. How many MPs or MPP people are speaking? Even those who speak, look at their communication. So it's simple. So for me, I am against such acts in this country. My constituents, the reverend ministers in my constituency, the chiefs, have called me and they have indicated their position, and I'm going by that position. If anything comes on the floor of the House in terms of vote, that is how I'm going to vote. And I wish that vote would be an open one, that I'll be able to show the good people of this country. Because apart from putting somebody or removing somebody from office, all votes the other votes may not be secret ballots. I'll get the opportunity to show where I will vote.
But it is now in the domain of Parliament. And now what we hear in Parliament is people going after the Constitutional Affairs Committee chairman, saying that he's not pushing the matter fast enough. Is Parliament really interested in this?
Okay, so it's at the committee level. If the committee chair is so minded, he should expedite action on it and prove people wrong. That's all. Because before him, people think that you are being compromised. I've heard a lot of conversation about that. I don't have the evidence to say he has been compromised, so I won't go there. But he must prove the people wrong. We are accountable to the people. We serve the people. The perception of the people is very important. So you should prove them wrong.
Well, still talking about issues that have to do with Parliament's role. I know we've talked on several occasions about this matter of the COVID funds, what it was spent on. You were just talking about the Kolebu situation. And we were all scandalized when we saw that because of the monies you have mentioned, and that the president, the finance minister, and others, vice president, are all throwing about. We are told we'll be getting some accountability on Wednesday.
No, it's a leading question. That's how I describe that question that has been filed. And it's very important you are asking this question. Nobody should put his or her interest or hope behind this question that is going to be asked on Wednesday, because you'll be disappointed. Such an issue cannot be resolved by a question on the floor of the House. If somebody like Anadompre is asking a question, we are not children. You should know the direction, just to water down the effect. So what will happen is that another employer will ask the question. We may have the opportunity to ask supplementary questions though, but how many can you ask? One. And you cannot resolve an issue such as the expenditure of COVID by a question on the floor of the House. You cannot. You need a bipartisan probe where you can ask multiple questions to unravel. So nobody should think that, you see, what they are doing is that another umbrella will ask this question, then maximum, you can't ask more than 10 questions on this one on the floor of the House. Then they will go out and say, oh, I have come to account for the COVID expenditure. That is not true. That is not true. We need a bipartisan committee, and I have filed another motion on that one. I mean, the minority leader, the chief whip, myself, Atta Forsen, we have submitted a motion. We need a bipartisan probe on this particular matter because the international community, the donors themselves, are highly interested in this matter, and they call us all the time. They don't hide it. They call us all the time. So we are motivated by the fact that they are also showing interest in the expenditure. Those who brought us the money, they have high interest in this matter, and I'm telling you. So nobody should be, having any high hopes in the fact that there's going to be some question on Wednesday, and when the minister comes to respond to it, we'll be able to account for. Look, we need all the loans, the debentures, whatever money, and how those monies has been expended. And you think that on the floor of the House question can deal with these questions? Well, let's see how it
so it is one question from the majority
as far
chief
as I
whip.
saw on, I think, Thursday or so, the question I saw with respect to COVID was one question.
From the majority chief whip?
From the majority chief whip. Meanwhile, some of us have asked questions from the majority chief whip. So you can imagine where it's coming from.
But have you also filed a question on this matter?
Yes, I have filed a question on this one. I even wanted to know how much was realized from the committee that the president constituted. You remember that committee?
Yes, I remember that committee vividly.
Exactly.
The one headed by the former Chief Justice.
Former Chief, yes. So those questions have not been advertised yet. So I don't believe that the concerns on COVID can be resolved by this single question. I don't believe that.
Okay, so when he asks the question, he will have the opportunity of asking
if
a subsequent number of
question,
supplementary questions.
Yes, so what happens is that another umbrella will ask a substantive question. He will have the opportunity to ask 3 other supplementary questions. Then any member who is interested, and that will depend on the one sitting. So just imagine if your wife is sitting, you can decide to take 3 questions, and that's all.
Oh. And, okay, so I'm wondering why you don't believe that Honorable Arnold Domprey will be so interested in accountability that he will push the finance minister to provide some answers that will help us.
No, I don't believe. That's my belief anyway, so you are entitled to your position on this matter. So now, I guess we've had enough conversation, isn't it?
Honorable, thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, that's the Honorable Member of Parliament for Juaboso, ranking member on the Health Committee. He says we shouldn't raise our expectations too high on this matter of the questions that will be asked. Afrewa, please go through what he's been talking about. We'll pick a few phone calls shortly. We haven't picked any phone calls today. So if you're